Hey everyone, you may be asking, where's the show? Well, YouTube does not like us that much. We only post the wacky news stories here, things that are less controversial. If you want all the other topics, and I think you know what I'm talking about, you have to listen to those on other platforms. We still stream live. We stream live on Twitch, Float.app, and DLive. And those are at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, and then 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. As always, you can download the audio-only podcast for free. You can check the description in this video or go to obdmpod.com. The shows march on. We haven't stopped. It's just we have stopped uploading full shows and streaming to YouTube. Thanks, and here's another wacky news segment. No need to panic. We got it under control.
I have no idea what I found this morning.
This headline is couple convinced Bigfoot lifted heavy trailer after terrified wife saw two red eyes.
Oh, like those stories of like grandma lifting the car off of people?
Yeah, people are like that are so full of adrenaline that they can lift a helicopter off their buddy. You know, something like that.
So when you get in a car wreck, just wait because Bigfoot will come by and lift the car off.
I'm just waiting for Sasquatch to come by and help me out. Got a flat tire. Forgot my jacket home.
It's part of AAA. It's a special special plan as part of AAA. Roadside assistance or roadside assistance from Sasquatch.
Triple B, you know, Bigfoot best friend kind of thing.
Bigfoot best friend.
Here is the story here. A huge Bigfoot creature lifted a house trailer off its foundation, leaving its inhabitants frozen stiff with horror, according to a professor investigating the mysterious beasts. Also referred to as Sasquatches. I think it's Sasquai, but I don't know.
Sasquatches?
Sasquatches. Also referred to as Sasquatches. There is no proof that the huge two-legged hairy creature exists, yet there are and have been numerous stories of sightings across the U.S. One such incident alleged to have taken place near a lake in Whitehall, Ohio.
That's right near you.
That is pretty close. Was revealed by Theodore Bennett, a professor of Earth and Planetary Science, on the Forrest Floyer Bigfoot Research podcast. He explained that a fascination with the paranormal from an early age had led him to studying the supposed species in an academic arena. So Whitehall, there is a lot of cryptozoological stories from right around there. I believe Small Town Monsters did a segment or a movie on like a beast from Whitehall, and it is a Bigfoot kind of creature. But there are also kind of Dogman kind of creatures too. But Theodore recalled the story told to him by the couple he had once met. He remembered that they claimed that the event began with the onset of a foul stench, like rotting meat, before the power to the pair's house was suddenly shut off. The professor suggested that he said they went down to their trailer. They discovered that the electricity was off. They made dinner on the camp stove, and he said that night in total darkness, their house trailer began being lifted off its cinder block foundation. He said that the trailer weighed several tons. He said whatever was doing it, it was also rattling their doorknobs. So Bigfoot was trying to get in.
While he was lifting? That's good agility.
Well, I would say that at that point, there were probably several Sasquatches, if that was...
Oh, they got him working in teams now.
Yeah. So
this to me sounds like Bigfoot's been working out.
Something like this. It also sounds like the same as when Mr. Mustache, my cat, is trying to break into my studio. Something like that. And I have a horrific Mr. Mustache story I'll tell at a later date. But so Bigfoot picked up the trailer and tried to get in using a doorknob. Goes on to say, quote, he said his wife, Edith, go look through the window and see if you can see anything. He sent the wife to go look? What was he doing?
You go. Yeah, he was cowering under the bed.
Yeah, he was. I'm too scared. I'm crapping myself in our trailer, bathroom. Go check it out, wife.
Oh, man.
Keep flushing this thing to prevent a brown Friday.
She said she looked through the window, and no more than 2 feet in front of her outside the window were two bright red eyes looking at her. Edith apparently jumped back, hitting the cabinet on the other side of the trailer, and her husband John appeared with a loaded shotgun when the rattling stopped. Oh, that's what John, all of a sudden, coming out like a big hero with a shotgun. He sent his wife to the window without a gun. John was cowering in the back with his shotgun.
Holy shit, grow some balls!
They both sat there trembling, frozen stiff with horror. And the next morning, after not sleeping, they got out and saw a large footprint was left all around, or footprints were left all around the trailer.
So he didn't even fire 2 blasts?
No, he did not follow the recommendation by our President Joe Biden.
Fired 2 blasts outside the house.
Yeah, when Sasquatch comes around, you fire 2 blasts, chase him off.
Apparently, the Sasquatches were frightened off by the sight of his wife. I don't know what that says.
Maybe that's why he sent her over there. Hey, you go look at him. Show him your face.
Hey, honey, you ugly. You go scare these Bigfoot away.
I'm watching people in
Wheel
Columbus,
of Fortune.
Ohio talk.
Now, this is when you leave the city. Like there are like
isn't Whitehall like
accents.
8 miles outside of Columbus?
I don't know, but once you leave the city, there are a lot of like southern accents. Like everyone kind of like, hey, there. It's not as like a heavy as a drawl, but there is a redneck accent that exists in Ohio.
Okay, from downtown Capitol Square to Whitehall, Ohio, 6 miles. Man, that place gets rural fast.
No way.
They're technically inside the Beltway, Mike.
Whitehall?
Yeah.
I thought it was at least 30 miles out.
No, it's right. It's like inside 270. It's over by Gahanna. It's next to the airport. Bigfoot can escape quickly.
Oh, he must have been working for the TSA. Okay.
He's got to go check this trailer.
See, I don't know where I'm at. Like I live somewhere around here. I don't even know.
You're like within an hour of this place and you don't know where it is?
I don't know. I've heard of Whitehall, but I didn't know like it was that close. I thought it was like 30 minutes outside Columbus. What do I know?
I got hairy legs.
That's all I know.
Focus on your hairy legs. Is there like a white house? Ohio? There is a White House, Ohio. Where's that?
Probably. So before the supposed attack took place, it was claimed that the couple also saw a bright light in the sky, which they took to be a UFO, which is not uncommon for events like this. Typically,
I love that. Yeah, now we're back to UFOs dropping off Bigfoot to do work for them.
Something like that.
That's right.
And this is a very common thing. This was explored and documented by Stan Gordon in his book. I forget. It's called like Invasion, something like that, or Pennsylvania Invasion, the Invasion of Pennsylvania. And this was like about a UFO and Bigfoot flap that took place in the late 60s, early 70s, where commonly people would see a UFO, and then maybe a day or two later, they would see Bigfoot in the same location. And there's a correlation, maybe not directly, but it's very common to see one if you see the other.
Well, wasn't there a Small Town Monsters on this too that talked about, which one was it, where there was a Bigfoot and a UFO at the same time?
Yeah. This was, that Small Town Monsters was called Invasion on Chestnut Ridge.
Chestnut Ridge, yes. Yeah. Okay.
Very, very well done documentary where it goes into some of the more interesting interactions between people and Bigfoot. One of the more interesting ones where there was a guy and 2 of his kids, relatives, sitting on a porch, and they saw 2 Bigfoot marching along the fence line. The guy takes out his rifle, shoots at one of them. He thinks
fired
he
2
hits
blasts.
That guy did exactly what Joe Biden suggested, and he fired a couple blasts. But he fired them at the Bigfoot.
Fired 2 blasts outside the house.
And he recalls that he reckons that he got one. They slowly retreated back into the woods. They got into a UFO, or there was a red light that they went towards this red light, and the red light took off. So whether that's...
Did he also yell, "I got one," after he thinks he hit one? Because
I don't think that he yelled that, but it's unconfirmed.
I would make sure to yell that.
So,
All right, so I like this theory that the UFO was trying to abduct the people in the trailer, but for some reason it was caught on something or stuck.
well, the UFO.
So they deploy the big feet to go down there to lift it off the ground, and they almost succeeded until the guy had his ugly wife stick her head out the window.
So here, okay. So I'll read this last little thing. So Theodore, the professor here, suggests that there's a link between UFO sightings and Bigfoot attacks, saying on more than one occasion, witnesses have seen a UFO coming down very close to the ground, and people have seen Bigfoot creatures being beamed down onto the surface of the earth, and then the Bigfoot just walks away. So yeah, there are multiple of these stories, and maybe I will bring that. I'll do a whole segment on just UFOs and Bigfoot stories. Like they're all happening. I've read a bunch of them, and they're pretty interesting. Like there could be just naturally occurring Bigfoot on Earth that have nothing to do with UFOs, and then there also could be UFOs that have their own version of Bigfoot that they deploy down here, and that they're some sort of worker for them. Much like, hey, we have us humans here, but there are also other types of humans that do other things. Every human has a different job, a different role, and live in a different way. Maybe that's the same thing with Bigfoot.
Are you suggesting we all keep extra hairy humans in the trunk of our cars, and when we need extra work, we just deploy them?
Exactly.
All right, do that.
Deploy your own hairy human.
Trunk human.
Yes. I keep my kid back there. I can't afford a jack.
Too hairy. Just have him back there to lift the car.
I have a hairy kid back there. Don't worry about it. Don't look in the trunk.
It's all right, man. I got a hairy kid back there.
He fears the light. All right, let's bring up your Dogman story. I think it might be the same one that I have.
Another Dogman. Oh, this is two stories. This is two stories tonight from Herman from Holland. So there you go.
Well, I found this one independently, Herman. Okay.
No,
I'm constantly on the trail of Dogman.
Well, so this is the New York Post reporting on Australian Dogman because that's where you go for the experts.
So I'll read this one, the one that
actually
I
from
have.
The Sun. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'll read the one that I have, and then we'll compare and see if it's the one you have. So this one is, it says, Kayaker claims to have photographed half man, half dog creature.
Was it a guy named John?
I'll find out soon.
All right.
Oh,
you want me to read mine at the same time you read yours? We'll pan it left and right, and people can freak out.
Let's try for a few seconds. Okay,
right.
on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. The man had been out fishing in Australia when he captured the image.
Dogman monster
Is there
in
a
the
dog-like
Australian
hominid
outback.
stalking the wilds of Australian outback? One man who had been identified only as John certainly seems to think so.
For a month
the story goes
after
on
encountering
that
the
John had
supposed
been
half dog, half human creature on two separate occasions.
I can't do this. I can't do this.
What'd you do?
I was wondering if it's going to be the exact same text too, but apparently it's not. I think it's the same. It's the same story. So run with yours.
It's the same story. It's a variation. So, I'll read this headline again. So, Kayaker claims to have photographed half man, half dog creature. The man had been out fishing in Australia when he captured the image. Is there a dog-like hominid stalking the wilds of of Australia's outback? One man who had been identified only as John certainly seems to think so. So I'll put the image right up here on screen. It is extremely blurry.
Pixelated. You don't say.
Extremely pixelated, I will say. It is very difficult to discern. I see a black object in the middle of the screen, but I'm not seeing anything that's dog-like or
man-like.
Ugh, look at that face.
Well, actually, I'll take that back. Okay, I do see a snout. I see like two little pointy ears, but I'm not seeing like the shoulders and the broad shoulders and the
where do you get snout
buttocks.
And ears? I see muscular buttocks. I see his muscular buttocks. What I don't, I see a blurry thing. It could be a goat or maybe a Tyrannosaurus.
Well, I'll read a story. Maybe this will enlighten us in what we should be looking for. The story goes that John had been out fishing in his kayak on Boxing Day last year when he had an encounter that he has since likened to a report of a half dog, half man creature or dogman that has been sighted in the United States in the United States of America in the state of Michigan as far back as the 1800s. Quote, I noticed that every time I took a stroke with the paddle of my kayak, whatever this thing was, it was taking a stride to each paddle I was taking, he told the Believe Paranormal and UFO podcast. Quote, the creature, I actually got it in a photo. And what I think it is, I've spoken to a few people, and I reckon it's a Dogman.
That's right.
After I couldn't go back to the area to check it out by myself, I was petrified for probably a month after it. I was waking up in the middle of the night and seeing the creature in my dreams. When he finally did pluck up, this is the story I was talking here. When he did finally pluck up the courage to return to the area to go fishing again, he heard what he believed to be a large creature smashing his way through the bushes, followed by a loud roaring noise. I heard about the Dogman and thought it was a joke, but actually I've had encounters with it now, and it is terrifying, he said. Unfortunately, the photograph he did manage to capture is inconclusive, showing an indistinct shape in the trees that could arguably be anything at all, or perhaps nothing more than a gape in the foliage. Nonetheless, John himself remains absolutely adamant that what he encountered was real. So there you go.
I mean, I don't doubt that. I just love that he's like, hold on, I've got my special UFO camera here.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that the photo is so crappy. Now, there's a lot of Dogman sightings. I talked about Dogman a lot. And there's not a lot of good photography or stories about Dogman. There's a lot of awesome stories. I would say when it comes to like the amount of stories, I think there are more Bigfoot stories than there are Dogman stories. But the Dogman stories are very interesting, and they're often very violent. They're like
he's a bit of a jerk. Remember we did one where we talked about Dogman versus a werewolf versus a what's the one in Louisiana?
That is the Rougarou.
Rougarou, yeah. About how they're all different, and the Dogman is just like the absolute utter jackass of cryptids. Well,
what's interesting about this, you mentioned his dreams. In the Rougarou of Louisiana, there is a spiritual nature to that, where if you go out and disturb nature, if you hunt on days you're not supposed to hunt, if you disturb the natural land, you will be haunted by the Rougarou and even have your dreams invaded by that beast. So this guy claiming that he was being woken up by this beast, he actually encountered something like a Rougarou, which is much more like a dog spirit or some sort of manifestation of the environment, and not necessarily like a boots on the ground Dogman. But if it was like a Dogman and he were to encounter it, it would have been violent. Everything that I've read about people encountering Dogman, bad news. The Bigfoot we read about, they'll come by, they'll move your trailer around, they'll knock on your door and run away, maybe try to take some food. By and large, I would say the Bigfoot encounters are mostly benign. But the Dogman ones, they always end horrifically.
Yeah, so here's this image. You may want to bring this up on screen, comparing whether or not you're dealing with a Bigfoot or a Dogman. That's these critical differences.
Up on screen. How to tell the difference. Bigfoot. Black or brown hair, 8 to 10 feet tall, up to 1,000 pounds, knocks on trees, throws stones, mostly shy, yet curious. Dogman, pretty much just an asshole. Mm-hmm. I would have to agree with that.
Yeah, Dogman's encountering Dogman is bad news.
Yeah, there are, beyond just like the cryptid Dogman stories, there are stories of like Dogman cult. We could call them almost like a werewolf cult, where there is some sort of blood sacrifice that happens in the name of certain spirits, and the people who make these sacrifices will transform themselves into a dog-like creature. And I think there's even like a recent like Dogman cults like that. I think even in the late 1800s, early 1900s. I'll have to dig back on that. I know cryptozoologist and researcher Jack Carey, He has talked about and researched Dogman quite a bit, and the myth and the stories that happened. And there's a particular path of those stories that happened from Native Americans who lived in Michigan and made their way south through the Plain States to the Southwest. And there is like a trail of stories along that passageway concerning Dogman.
The Dogman Trail.
Yeah.
Don't follow that trail. That's not one you want to go hiking on.
Ain't going to be good. Ain't
Bunch
going to
of
be good
Dogmen
at all.
down there and just a bunch of assholes.
But there you go. There's some Dogman. There's some cryptozoology. We will move on a bit.